city. You promised you were with me. I see all your shitty flaws that made me feel lost. Cover up with excuses to fall between none and all. Our fire, deeper desires are higher than all you aspire to be. Now I stop and smell the roses I grew from the name while you drove me insane. Now I stop to notice the beauty you bring to me. Water in my own garden, my flowers blooming orchid. I might be a late starter, but I know where my heart is. I went to where you dropped it and picked up all the pieces and went to all my heathens and pleaded. They gave me seeds to rebuild, told me to go and be still. I needed you more than ever. I realized I don't want better than you. Now I stop and smell the roses I grew from the name while you pushed me away. I won't stop until you notice I grew from the pain you poured to explain.
Awesome. Everybody, you just heard from Ayesha Ahad.
Woo!
Welcome, Ayesha, to the studio.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, always. Thank you.
What was the name of that the song we just heard?
So I've titled it Roses. Kind of a work in progress still, but yeah, Roses.
That's kind of powerful in terms of the hook, because that's, like it just kind of resonates in my mind. And I think I have an idea of what that means, but I'd love to hear like what's kind of a story behind like how those lyrics developed.
Yeah. The song developed by me getting out of this relationship that I was in. I was learning how to heal in a really rough time. And I was also in a relationship where I thought that I had safety and comfort and that this person was open to being in the process of me healing with them. And as I was trying to heal, it pretty much was just me taking time to relax and chill and just not do that much. And he was just like, well, why aren't you doing so much? I thought you were ambitious. I thought you were motivated. I thought you would do more. And he kind of nitpicked at everything that I didn't like about myself, or when I was trying to heal, like I would be chilling and he's like, well, I thought you would do more. I thought you said you wanted to do music. I was like, I do want to do music, but I also need some time to relax and to process some things that have happened.
Absolutely.
And he would nitpick parts of like my appearance and things where I tried to change myself to fit what he thought was good. And then I was like, wow, I really don't like any part of myself. And this visualization of just, if I had a bed, like a garden bed, before I had met him, it was flourishing and there were flowers everywhere. And then as I was being with him, or as I was with him, it kind of just got, everything died. And that's where the song kind of came from, where it was just, I have to start over and I have to plant all of these seeds again. And I have to learn how to love myself again, because I don't know, just starting from like ground zero. Yeah.
That's really deep. And thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear about the situation, but it sounds like on the plus side that you've really like grown from that.
Yeah.
And your music clearly has grown.
Yeah, that's true. I'm very happy with the demo we have so far. It makes me feel good, which is, I think, what music is supposed to do sometimes. Sometimes it makes you just feel anything, but in this case, I feel pretty good about it.
That's great. I couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely music is there to help you feel.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, just a little segue, Aisha's been involved in a lot of really cool projects. One project I was fortunate to be part of you with, the first time I heard that song was with John Corbin and Amplify.
Yes, yeah.
Where you performed that at his Amplify Hope concert last year, which was really great. In addition, like you can find Aisha on the scene, like doing a lot of great stuff with Mama's Kitchen, for example, Rufus John. You're part of a legacy showcase. I think both as a mentee and as a performer. And are you mentoring now?
Not really, no. I'm doing like background vocals, and if anybody asks me questions, then I can answer them. But Rufus has toy mentoring, and she's incredible. She was my mentor, and she actually mentored me this year as well. So I'm still
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And many other things. You got some great shows coming up, and we're going to dive into all this stuff, so don't worry. But just to give a bit of an introduction, a little bit more familiarity to those who don't know you. That's why I'm really excited you're on the podcast. So maybe we can, with that background, kind of take a few steps back and let's talk about like, where did music start for you? Because if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm not remembering this right, but I think I heard you were talking about this maybe at the Black Brilliance last year, Laurier, about you were into percussion. Is that where it started?
That's correct.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, to my research. So please, let us know. Like, where did that start for you? How did it go with percussion? What made you go into vocals? And if I'm not mistaken, you're probably playing some other instruments. So let's hear about it.
Yeah. I always mention it started when I was a kid. In my culture, I guess in my family, when I was a baby, I was given these gold bangles to wear, and it was just a sign of just me being the daughter, I guess, or something. But these gold bangles, I loved hitting them off of everything. I hit them off glass tables, off of like railings. I just loved the way that it sounded, I guess. And my mom picked up on that, and she bought me my first drum that had like the sticks attached to the drum with the strings and everything. So I played that. Then she upgraded me to like an electronic kit, like one of those old school 90s electronic kits, like beginner ones. And then my mom also got a piano, and my brother also was interested in guitars. So like we always had instruments in the house. And even she got me like a little karaoke set because I used to sing as well. So I did a lot of music when I was a kid, just naturally. And then once I got into school, I went to Stewart Avenue, which is in Cambridge, for middle school. And my teacher, Mr. Crouch, he saw that I really loved playing percussion, and so I was able to play that in our band. And then he recommended that I audition for Eastwood in Kitchener, and that kind of just grew from there. In Eastwood, I was able to learn more about drums. I auditioned for drums. I didn't do anything vocally for a really long time. And then I saw there was a vocal minor class where I didn't have to audition or do anything crazy. So I just pulled up to that class. I just signed up for it, and I've been singing ever since.
Wow, that's really neat. And so it was almost like some would say like you're almost like a late bloomer when it came to the vocal stuff. And here you are with, many awesome opportunities. And if, we're going to hear more from you too, which is great. But if you get a chance to hear Ayesha live, I highly recommend you do, because the vocals are fantastic.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. And so with the percussion, is that something you like to incorporate in your, like when you're writing songs? Does it start with a beat, or like how do you approach your songwriting process? Like, for example, we talked a bit about Roses behind the lyrics, but how did you get the instrumentation sorted out?
Yeah. Funny enough, I actually always start with chords. So I just sit down at a piano most times. I'm not super advanced when it comes to chord work or piano work, but I sit there and then just see where my hands fall. And if I'm able to make a cool progression, then I'm able to find a melody over top. And then from there, I normally have help from somebody. I let somebody know at that point where I have like a melody and strong chord, like loop or whatever it is, to just be like, hey, what do you think about this? Well, how does this make you feel? Like, does this make you feel any type of way? Because as much as I want to express my feelings, I also want to engage as many people as possible to feel as well. So I kind of do that. And then if somebody else I know who's musically inclined is like, hey, I hear this beat underneath, then we kind of collaborate a lot of times. I love incorporating as many people as possible in the process, because a lot of my friends, they are all musically inclined, and we're all here to do the same thing. We all want to be involved. We all want to build a community. We all want to be accepted and included. And that's kind of what I like to incorporate in my songwriting process as well.
That's great to hear you say that. And what we have in Kitchener-Waterloo, I think, is kind of special when it comes to the collaboration, because it's such a hub for creativity when it comes to music. And, I kind of myself came out of my shell a little bit too, just even attending open mics where you feel like you're encouraged to perform, even if you're not perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's great, and great to hear that you are strongly collaborating with other people. Do you find that when you do that, is it hard for you to kind of take feedback, or is that something you look forward to if someone has feedback for a song when it's close to you like that? Like,
I always look forward to it, and I'm always open as much as possible. Like, I know there's been some times where my partner Ian and I, as much as we have this beautiful relationship that we love and cherish so much, writing music together has actually not come as naturally as we thought it would, because he's so musically inclined too, and he does so many things with so many bands. But sometimes, like the last session we had, I really wanted to write this kind of ethereal, not like wish-washy, but kind of more just melody-focused song with a cool instrument in the background. And we ended up turning it into like an EDM song. And I was like, okay, cool. Not where I thought it was going, but also pretty cool. If I do find any lyrics or melody lines that I'm really tied to, I normally just communicate that beforehand, where I'm like, I really love this part, and I think I'd like to keep this part, but I'm still always open to if they think we should change it to a different thing or have different harmonies in the background too. Because as much as collaboration is my ideas, it's all of our ideas and all of them working together in harmony. So I always keep that at the forefront of my mind.
I think that's awesome. And it's interesting because I have asked that question to everybody sitting where you're sitting now, and everybody has had a similar response. Hey! Which is, I'm really impressed, because I think, I don't know why, I would have fought for some, at least some, that, they would have kept their cards closer to their chest, so to speak, when it comes to songs, lyrics, and stuff. But everybody here has so far has said, I think, again, it just goes to show how special this community is.
I agree.
That we're so willing to be open. Because in a way, it's very vulnerable.
For sure. And it's really hard not only to write the music with other people emotionally, but it's also even podcasts or interviews like this where we're talking about the music or where it came from. Everything about music or art is vulnerable, whether you're looking at a piece or you're part of a piece or you're hearing it live for the first time. It's a very vulnerable place to be. And to know that this community, we have kind of this underlying understanding of each other where we know where it comes from. So we are as accepting and as inclusive as we can be for everybody. The encouragement that we get from the community is incredible. So I know it's not the same in a lot of places where it's more like competitive or you're taking up too much of a market. But yeah.
You're absolutely right. So on that note, let's hear your next song.
We go
That's a great way to end that song. Nice.
It's so good, yeah. Shout out to Liam Myrie. He helped me with that one.
That was awesome. Yeah. So maybe let's break that one down a little bit too. I mean, the lyrics themselves maybe explain a lot, but kind of what was your process like that sparked this, I guess, the melody that you were going for, and where did the lyrics start for you?
Yeah. This one I wrote back when I was like a teenager and I was exploring different things with different people. And the beginning part of the song, in terms of lyrics, there was one night in particular where I was going on this date with somebody, and it wasn't incredible to even start. And it was just kind of, it was what it was. And then he invited me back to his place, and I was like, you know what? Whatever, sure, why not? And then we go there, and he shows me this game. I don't even remember what game it was, but he played this game for like 20 minutes. And I was like, awesome, I'm at your house, and I'm watching you play a game. And I was like, okay. And eventually he ended up falling asleep, and I was not sleeping. And when we first got into his apartment, he was like, oh yeah, my door's kind of hard to open. And he seemed to open it pretty easily, but also it's his door, so he knows how to open it. And so he had fallen asleep. It was like 3 a.m. I was like, I really want to go home. I don't want to stay here anymore. And I ended up trying to open that door, but it was so hard. I couldn't open it myself, and he had roommates and I didn't want to wake up as well. So I ended up just like sitting down and being like, why am I here? And just kind of, I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is so bad. I ended up going home. And the first part of that was just kind of frustration from my dating experiences, because that was so crazy. And then it kind of goes into more of, at the time I wasn't looking for anything serious. It's like, you know what I'm here for? I'm just trying to get, like, we both know what this is, and we're just trying to have a good time and then maybe leave and not be in each other's way too much. But also finding a place of the connectedness of being human, where at the end it's like, I'll meet you by that old place, hoping that like we can still connect on certain things. We can still talk as humans. It's not like super blank or stale. But yeah, that's just kind of my experience in dating came from that song.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's, yeah, I agree with you in the sense that like, even if a relationship doesn't work out, like you can still be a human being. You can still, you know, it's like you said, like, yeah, you can still hang out sometimes. Even it's not like you have to hate that person or whatever just because.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all about like, everything is kind of about just how we're humans and we try to connect. And this one in particular was just kind of more of a funny-ish song that I wrote where I was like, all of these situations are just hilarious to me and I just have to get them out. But yeah.
That's cool. It kind of connects back to what you said earlier about like how it makes you feel and how the lyrics and the music come together like that.
Yeah.
So that's great. So we talked about like, you know, you got into high school, you got into vocal as a minor just because it was something you could, I guess, sign up for.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Fast forward to Freedom Marching Project, meeting Rufus John. Where did that all start? Like, how did you get connected with Rufus? How did you get connected in Legacy? Is that something you were like, hey, this is a great opportunity I want to pursue? Or was he kind of like recruiting you? Like, what was that relationship like and how did it start for you?
It started with another vocalist in the community named Sam Soga. He is incredible. Love him so much. He's a great person, great friend. And during the pandemic, actually, he knew my brother through just community engagement.
Right.
And my brother was like, hey, I think this guy would be a really good connection for you. He's also an R&B artist. And so we started chatting, and I had come up with the one song I do have out right now, Rusty. And I had sent him just the vocal part and a looped piano part that I had made to see if he liked the structure, if he thought that it was a good song, kind of like how we talked about the songwriting process earlier. And then Sam was like, hey, I love this. I think it's really great. And I thought it would end there. And then he kind of disappeared for 2 weeks. And then he just messaged me back. He's like, hey, so I did all this stuff. And then he put the drums, the bass, the guitar, the background vocals. He made Rusty kind of what it is now. And I was like, whoa, this is incredible. This sounds so good. And then we ended up just posting that. And through that, Sam recommended me to Rufus, who he had been working closely with for a while. And then Rufus reached out and was like, hey, I think you should audition for Legacy. And I was like, this is an incredible opportunity. And kind of how I approach everything is the worst they can say is no. Most times it's just the worst.
That's a great perspective. Seriously.
Yeah. So I auditioned, and thankfully they really liked what I did. And I've now just completed my 3rd year with Legacy, and I perform pretty regularly with Rufus as well.
That's awesome. And I just have to give a shout out again to what Legacy does, because
absolutely,
anybody listening to this and you hear us talking about it and you're like, what is this? Please check out Legacy for Freedom Marching Project.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing talent, up and coming artists. Rufus does a great job showcasing them, mentoring them, and I think it's just such an amazing thing to do in the community. And I'm a huge fan. Just attending the events and seeing what gets produced out of it is actually really incredible.
It's such a unique thing too. Like nobody else is doing anything like this, and to have these opportunities for people like me or for people who are just starting out. There's a lot of people who are involved in Legacy who have never sang on a stage before, and they're being given these opportunities.
That mentorship opportunity. It's like you're graduating by being on stage that night.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is so cool, because I guess that's the other side of the story people have to know, is that it's a process too. It's not like you just show up and do your thing. Like months in advance, you're being mentored, and you have different sessions and stuff. And worth noting, it's not just music, although that's a big part of it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
There's poetry that's amazing. There's dancers. There's
visual artists that get called as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's incredible. The mentoring process as well. It doesn't just, they don't just help you with musical stuff. In terms of my experience in the music section, they don't just help you like perform better. They help you technically like that, but they also are like, how's your stage presence? Also, how do you feel about these songs? How do you feel in this moment? And how are you going to translate how you feel on stage? And for someone who's never had that type of training before, or even just having those types of conversations, Toy and Rufus, incredible. I wouldn't be the person I am today, even talking to you in this manner, if it wasn't for them.
Hear, hear. Like, shout out. That's, absolutely amazing. Yeah, that's great. And so speaking of which, as you mentioned, you also now perform a lot with Rufus, which is great, through his own band, Mama's Kitchen. Mm-hmm. They have an incredible show coming up, which is a version 2 of Feel So Good.
Yes, yeah.
And that is coming this Saturday. That is March 22nd at the time of this recording. So please, if you, if you're interested, I imagine there might be a version 3 that they produce, and it's a great show. Again, a lot of these artists that I think perform at Legacy or getting part of it will be in the show as well. And it's just a great night of talent and community.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do just a lot of fun music. Like, we try to make it as fun as possible so people can get up and they can dance, or they can sing along with us if they want to. Like, I'll throw the mic to somebody. If you want to start singing, go ahead.
I might take you up on that.
Hey, it's definitely as much as we can to engage an audience. Just make a fun experience for everybody, with also really incredible talent. Like, the band that he pulls in, oh my gosh, they blow me away every time.
Every time. Yeah, me too. And I've attended as many Mama's Kitchen shows as I can, and honestly, it's right. Like, sometimes it doesn't take more than 5 minutes before people start like bobbing their heads, wiggling, and then like after the third or fourth song, we're all standing. Like, you can't sit down. It's great.
Yeah, Rufus does a great job too of making it such an engaging and welcoming environment with no criticisms for anybody. Because in society, if we're walking around and stuff, we walk a certain way, we talk a certain way if we're in a cafe. But when it comes to these shows, the lights are there, everybody's having a good time. The whole point is just to express and feel and dance as much as you want to. And it's incredible to be part of that.
Yeah, and I think that's like, there's a difference, right, between performance and art. And I think that's where Rufus and you guys do such a good job, is you make that experience, like the whole thing is an experience, an artistic experience. So you feel that comfort to actually participate in that way by dancing or whatever, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just being like observers and you're performers and there's like this wall between you,
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible to hear too. I'm happy that we work really hard to make sure it translates. So it's cool that you feel that way.
Yeah, I think it's authentic. So appreciate that. And looking forward to hearing you again on stage coming up this Saturday. So
Thanks, man.
yeah. So is there anything that you're working on right now? I mean, maybe some things you can't talk about because, you know, you're doing your thing, which is great, right? But any songs, shows, or, you know, like collabs that you're excited that might be coming out in the next month or so?
Yeah. So in April 11th, I'll be playing at Maxwell's with Maria, Nash Crow, and House Cat.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, it's the indie night at Maxwell's. I love all of those bands. I've seen them all play individually, and to be part of that bill is incredible. So that's a fun show that's coming up. I'm not sure when it'll be released, but last year, I think it was, we welcomed a Detroit rapper, Quash.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. That was so good.
We are working on something together as well. He's been super excited. I'm super excited about it.
Whoa!
So
all right.
We have a song in the works.
Nice, and then Quash, as well. Yeah. Dude. That was a great night too.
Yeah. He's incredible. Yeah. Also, his stage performance, his stage presence, you know, and his performance. Everything is so good. Great guy.
Agreed. Yeah. That's what it is. It's like we keep coming back to this theme that in Kitchener-Waterloo, like we bring in this talent and this inclusivity, and we all benefit from it, right? So it's all about sharing and being vulnerable. That's one thing that you said that I don't know if we got to pick up a little bit before we heard your song. So worth maybe just calling back to that really quickly about the vulnerability of art. Like, that's what I appreciate about Legacy too, is it's all art forms, and all those things make you feel that vulnerability. I remember seeing some of the art, for example, that you mentioned, visual art, and it just captivates you so much. And it's like, there's paintings of people, if you look in their eyes, it's like, it feels like they're looking at you.
Yeah.
Or the year before last, when it was in Cambridge at Legacy, there was a poem one of the performers did, and I feel so bad about not recognizing her name, so help me on the name, but she was talking about the women's hair and how it's like a spire and like what colonialism had tried to do with it. And it made me feel like, man, like, am I part of that problem or am I part of that solution? Like, how do I treat people? It made me feel like I need to think about how I'm treating people.
Yeah.
That's what the poem did, right?
Yeah.
There was music at the showcase that makes you feel a certain way too, right? A lot of it did make you get up and dance, but some of it made you stop and think about, what am I doing as a human being, right?
Yeah.
And it's incredible that that's the way that this is art and how it can move you. And it seems like that's kind of some of the inspiration behind what you're writing as well.
Absolutely. Like, the people around me inspire me. You know, the situations I'm in, the experiences I have, just like anybody, any artist, we all inspire each other. Whether you're an artist or an audience member or somebody who's taking in that art, if you're able to find inspiration in everything, and even I also am blanking on her name, but I know she was London-based. She was here for school, and she was captivating in the way that she was describing her hair and describing how beautiful it was. Even just to hear subtleties like that. You know, I don't get to describe myself as beautiful in a lot of ways, and I don't always have that positive self-talk. And to hear it be put on a stage where it resonates with everybody of all demographics, of all age ranges, it's something that's so curated by Rufus, and just to be part of that again, it's shaped who I am in a really beautiful way. And all I try to do now is just engage and act as much as I can in an open and positive manner to everybody I'm around, just because that's the community that we've kind of built. And I want nothing more than to be part of that, you know?
Totally. And I see that in you. And actually something you said I want to like highlight and talk a bit more about, which is really cool, is the idea of this, how Rufus curates things, or how we can curate our own experience in the terms of how we put intention into things. So yeah, is there anything that you do, like you're preparing yourself for a show or even to, you know, do any kind of your rehearsal or whatever, what kind of intentional things might you do to prepare yourself for that? I'm going to say it's performance. It's not. It's an art. But what do you do to help yourself? Do you have a routine you go through?
I don't have a full routine. Like, everybody has their own individual warm-ups that they love to do as vocalists, which is more of like a technical side of things. But what's super important to me for any show that I do is to have trust in the musicians that are around me, and not just trust that they'll play their parts, of course, but trust emotionally. Because anytime I do anything with them, especially if it's original music, I put my trust in them to feel or try to feel either a similar way or feel anything to add to the song or to be included in this experience with me. Because I try to have every show that I do, whether it's under my name or Rufus's name, as much part of like an experience as I possibly can have it, where we're all on the same page. Doesn't matter what experience you have, whether you've played at the Tiny Desks or you're starting out or you just have done stuff locally, all of that gets pushed to the side. We're all just trying to make sure that these songs translate in a way that we feel proud of. And I love hearing when we're done a rehearsal that people feel good about what we've done in the rehearsal. So I try to connect with people as much as possible and to feel grounded in that way. Because if I'm not able to feel grounded or safe or secure in myself, because I'm such an anxious person that if I can't feel grounded with the people around me, it's really hard to translate anything but anxiety on stage. And I've seen that because I've only been performing for about a year here in Kitchener, or in the region, I should say. And through some of the performances earlier on, a lot of it was so anxiety driven, and I felt that, and I felt like it was being translated that way. But now that I've learned and I've gigged and we've done work in the community, really making sure that I can touch base emotionally with people as much as possible, as much as they're willing to be, is important.
I think that's really special, because one thing that I've noticed, like even when we were playing with Jay Warren and John Corbin and everything, is like in a way you form a relationship with those people, and that band becomes like a family of sorts, and you have to have, like you said, that trust, the emotional trust, the dependency on people that they're going to show up when you need them to show up and things like that. And I didn't realize until now, I love how you phrased it, like the impact of how that relationship will play when you're doing your rehearsal, when you're doing your performances. And so it's even more important then to build a strong relationship of trust and sensitivity towards how our people are feeling and encouraging each other. And I think that's something that I witnessed when we were doing that set. There was a lot of encouragement going around, which was great, because I know even myself, I wasn't always super confident at even just playing my part, but I knew you guys had me, right? And that was really cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, that's what I would hope, even in settings where I'm being asked to play stuff. Like, I would hope that same grace is given to me. And I've been thinking a lot about that recently. It's just as much as we are human, we make all of the mistakes that we make.
100%.
Whether it's, if I'm anxious and I'm awkward and I met someone for the first time and they just know me as awkward now, I would hope that they would approach me with the same grace, that I can be more open and be more relaxed around them, as in the same way that if something happened with them, that I would give them the same grace the next time I see them. Because we just experience such a plethora of emotions, and each day is different, and every day is an accumulation of the past experiences that we just had, and it means that we show up differently every day. And so I try to keep that in the forefront, whether I'm having conversations or hanging out with people, or if it's music based, just approach everything with the same grace that you would expect to have.
I think that's really helpful. And I think it also speaks to another important topic that I've noted amongst talking with musicians, specifically about artists in general, is their mindset, right? So is there anything you do to help prepare your mindset, even if it's just on a daily basis when you wake up, that kind of thing? Because I think you're right. That plays a huge part in how we're going to I'm going to use the word perform, but we know that's not what we mean. You know what I mean? Like if it's, whether it's a rehearsal or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think it's honestly, it's also just life, right?
Yeah,
so,
it is. It really is, you know. Life imitates art or art imitates life, you know, either way.
That's fair.
I think the most important thing for me is trying to stay as grounded as possible because I do struggle with anxiety and depression. Like, if I'm not grounded, my depression will just take over and my anxiety gets really bad. And it's something that I will always, I've built a relationship with my depression and my anxiety because I know that it's not going away. It's not something that I can just fix. It's deeply rooted in the makeup of who I am. And so every day I strive to be grounded. And sometimes, you know, I always pushed it to the side because everyone would be like, oh, you should just journal. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But actually journaling helps me to slow down my thoughts. And when I journal, I know that for me, I put the limitation of 1 page. I have like a pretty tall notebook, so I have a lot of space, but I limit it to 1 page. And by doing that, I remind myself in the moment of me trying to express my thoughts that not every thought has to have the same value, and I'm trying to be as intentional as possible with my thoughts because everything that I write down is recorded for me to then look back on. Because I can have a great day and then the next day will be terrible, and I can just read how I progress as like a human. So journaling really helps me. Talking to others, being like I struggle being social and like getting social cues, but the people that I've built a foundation with friendship wise, they really ground me as well and help me to process things. Just like leaning on your support systems and trying to figure it out for yourself as well. I just try to stay as grounded as possible.
Thank you for sharing that. Again, for being vulnerable with that. But what a great strategy with the journaling.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many of those journals turn into songs or have the potential to.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at them in a while to go back on. But that's what I love about having records like this or even photographs. Like it's kind of the same thing.
Absolutely.
Where you get to look back on not to use like Snapchat because it's so whatever, but sometimes you get Snapchat and it's like a year ago today and it was like my cat, but they were a kitten, or I was working a different job and I realized how much I hated that job and like where I am at today. And just even in my bathroom, actually, a helpful thing that I have just beside my mirror, I have a picture of me when I was a kid. Because every morning when I'm getting ready and I'm brushing my teeth, and if I have a billion thoughts running through my mind, I'm able to look at that picture and just be like, that was you. You're doing this for her. Remember how much she loved the sunlight and like how much she loved the grass and how much she loved sunflowers or little weeds in the garden. And I thought they were beautiful. Like, it's just having as many of those tiny little reminders that life is not that serious. It's not that crazy, but at the same time, like we try to put meaning into everything. It does, life is meaningful, but it's not serious, you know?
I think it's a really helpful perspective, and that's a really great strategy because I think all of us can benefit from being in touch with, I'm going to call it our inner child.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think there's a lot of value that young person still has, even though we're adulting now and we put all of our stresses because we got to go to work, etc. We got to pay this bill, whatever. But absolutely, like that little child wants that art to flourish that we've been talking about, you know, and enjoys the little things, the grateful things of life.
Yeah.
So I think it's that connection is so key.
Exactly. And exactly what you said, like I didn't mention it before, but being grateful, it's something that will immediately, I feel like, cause at least my thoughts to just calm down. Like I'll be like grateful for the socks I have, grateful for the tiles that are on my floor, grateful for a quiet home, or grateful for anything, you know, anything you can think of. Just being able to take even just a minute, putting a timer on, and just being like, I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z, or Z, or whatever, you know.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's little things like that I think can help truly. And some of them seem silly. Like I thought journaling was silly, but it's super helpful and really impactful.
Absolutely. Thanks again for sharing that. I agree with you. For being grateful is, it's so, I think we take, it's take it for granted? Can you be? I think you can, right?
Yeah.
But the impact of it for sure is, like, how can you be upset with anything if you're grateful that you've breathed today? Did you eat? Like,
Yeah.
but it's really, I think it just helps us put things in perspective. And I'm so guilty of this. This is why I've kind of like reiterating the point, but I think gratitude goes a long way.
Yeah. And it is hard. Like, it's hard to be grateful in moments of stress. It's hard to be grateful when we've struggled.
You're right.
But to exist is to experience not only the joys of life, but also the struggles of life. And if you're able to be grateful for not just the joys or the good things like a quiet home, but if you're able to be grateful for a manic, crazy, messy house, then you know that that's also life. And just all at the end of the day, we're just trying to be grateful that we're living and that we're here and we're able to make these connections.
And that is the essence of art.
Yeah, that's the essence of art.
Which kind of brings it all home here.
Yeah.
So thanks for this great conversation. Really appreciate, like I said, just you being open about your strategies, your life, your music, importantly, of course, because that's mainly why we're talking. But I think it's important for folks to know too that, like, I've seen you've done your shows with Rufus, but you do your own shows too. And we saw you play Kitchener Market with Goodco at one point last summer. That was awesome. You also did the after party Goodco, like in the restaurants and stuff. So, you're out there and killing it, if I may say.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Try my best.
Yeah, which is great to see. And every time I see you, you got a good mix of different musicians out there too, which is cool. So you're sharing that space, you're collaborating, and that's really neat. What would you say to people maybe like, hey, I'm kind of interested in music. I don't know where to begin. I like the way Ayesha sounds. I like that R&B soulful vibe. Where do people start getting into that? Like, if you had any advice for someone who's interested in that style?
That's a good question. I guess I would first ask them like what the goal is. It's always about evaluating what your goal is. Is it to better your understanding of the chord progressions or like how R&B specifically as a genre is made? Or is it how you're expressing this in this genre? Or are you trying to be more part of the community? Because there's different resources for all three. I would definitely recommend if anyone wants to get involved either in the community or in the R&B genre, they're more than welcome to reach out to me and I can provide any resources that I have. I might not have all the answers. I might not be able to help incredibly, but I will always do my best and see anything that I can help with. But definitely just listening to a lot of different artists, and especially like the 90s artists. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better.
Right.
You have to go back in order to know. Yeah. Like even D'Angelo, I forget where he played or for what show it was. I think it was like a talk show or something. But watching him or like SWV perform live back in the 90s when they didn't have really like compressors or reverb or anything like that. They were just singing. To see the authentic delivery of music being made and the way that their melodies go, the choices that they make, all of that stuff, just it's how you want to express your music and how you feel connected to it. And I think R&B, there's so many different ways to do that, but it's once it hits. And I think those guys know what they were doing for sure.
If you had like maybe a top 3 of 90s R&B for you in this moment, what would those be? I'm just curious. Well,
I mean, I already said too, D'Angelo and SWV are incredible. I listened to a lot of Alicia Keys. My mom loved Alicia. Blue Cantrell, she had a lot of music, but that one hit of hers, I used to listen to Blue Cantrell all the time because her delivery of that song too is just incredible. I think it's called Hit 'Em Up Style. So that one. I don't know. What about you?
Smiling. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Alicia Keys for sure. I don't know if you could include Erykah Badu, but
Oh my gosh, yeah.
heck yeah. For me,
Of course.
Erykah Badu was
Yeah.
it. Yeah, for sure.
And she still is.
She still is.
Lauren Hill.
Yeah,
Listen.
I mean, come on.
Gosh, Lauren, even nowadays, like, I put on her record to just check to see if there was a scratch on it, to see if it had anything to do. And I just got so immersed in the delivery and the theme of the song. And I was like, wow, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And if it hits still today,
Absolutely.
that means something, you know?
And I'm actually realizing, like, in this moment, which is really cool, that actually, in many ways, 90s R&B was a huge intro to me to strong women in music.
Yeah.
Up until that point, you know, I was listening to a lot of, like, you know, bands, like, I love 90s rock, but it's all guys and stuff, which is fine. So cool to hear, like, so many strong women and continuing in that genre, obviously, like, folks like yourself and even, like, but there's also Rufus and there's also other folks, right? So, yeah, cool to see that, but.
Absolutely. And I think it was really a huge gateway for women just to not take over, but to take the space that they are owed in this
100%.
music industry. Because even now, you know, in the past few years, we've been talking about women in production fields, women behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Whereas like before.
Her.
Yeah, Produce Her by Sam. Yeah. Big shout out to her.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could go on forever, but yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Ayesha. Anything else you want to say to close things out? And what's next for you? Anything coming up? I know we talked about Maxwell's, but even artistically, anything coming up for you?
I'm just trying, you know. I'm just trying every day to find the joy, to find where I fit. Because, you know, finding a place where you fit is really hard and sometimes I have a little note on my whiteboard. It's like, the place in which I fit doesn't exist until I make it. And so I'm working on that and just trying to be as happy and joyful as I can. Maxwell's April 11th. It's going to be a great show. Yeah. Just chilling.
That's great. Well, thanks again for sharing your thoughts. Thanks for sharing your music, for your talent, and for your time. And anybody who's listening, once again, highly recommend you check out Ayesha Ahad on all the streams platforms.
Yeah, everything.
And even better, if you can see her live here in Kitchener-Waterloo. Thanks, everybody. Take care.